Hello, everybody. It's your friendly digital technology librarian, Christy here. We are already at Father's Day weekend, so of course, I decided to put together a little selection of father-child film recs that I really enjoy. Now, these titles really run the gamut as far as genre and theme goes. I've got some hilarious titles in here. I've got some really rather straightforward dramas. I've got a couple wicked action titles. I've got suspense in here. So, regardless of what genre you prefer to watch, I think you should be able to find something really interesting within these selections. Now, as with every week, these titles are totally available entirely for free with the use of your Milan-Berlin library card, and they're available via our video streaming services. I don't have anything from Cleveland's Overdrive this week, but I do have titles from Hoopla Digital and Canopy. Strongly recommend that you take a look at these video services. There are so many more choices available on them that you would definitely find titles that you're interested in. In any case, I want to go ahead and quickly dive into these, so just keep watching. Okay, I have 4 recommendations from Hoopla Digital for everyone out there. The first of those recs is for a film called The Birdcage. Now, you may have already seen The Birdcage, but it doesn't matter. You should watch it again. This is one of my favorite films of all time. When I need to laugh, when I need a giggle, this is a film that I know will get the job done. It's got a ridiculously awesome cast featuring Robin Williams, Nathan Lane, Gene Hackman, Diane Weist, Dan Futterman, Callista Flockhart. I mean, it's insane. Oh, Hank Azaria is in it as well. He plays an absolutely ludicrous, wonderful, memorable character in the storyline too. I mean, it's just a ridiculously awesome cast. Now, this movie is sort of based on a French play and film called La Cage aux Folles, and it sort of focused on this newly engaged couple that have 2 totally disparate kinds of families. So Val Goldman, who's played by Dan Futterman, has 2 dads. His one father, played by Robin Williams, runs this really popular, incredibly vibrant drag club. His other father is the headliner at the club, that he's the person that everybody comes to see perform. And Nathan Lane plays that particular father, and the 2 of them has such insanely good chemistry. They are this long married couple, and you feel that vibe. Like, it totally works. It makes sense. And they're absolutely hilarious in their roles, but they're also really sweet. It's just very charming. Now, Barbara, played by Callista Flockhart, has a family that's totally in the opposite direction. They are ultra conservative. Her father is this very Republican senator. Her mother is a super traditional housewife. So you can see where there would already be friction to begin with, just from optics, like considering her father is a senator for the religious right in particular, it would make things very difficult. So you've got these 2 families that don't know about each other because the kids have kept their relationship a secret the entire time. But the 2 of them decide to head home and reveal their relationship to their parents, and that just sort of kicks off like an entirely ridiculous series of events. Something happens with a close associate of Barbara's father, meaning that he has to make a major public statement about where he stands on his beliefs. Barbara, because she's so concerned about how her parents are going to react to her fiance's parents as well, she sort of comes up with these lies about her fiance's family. They think it's going to be the perfect sort of image building situation, so they head off to meet her soon-to-be in-laws, and that's just it's a wild and crazy ride. What I absolutely love about this film, besides its sort of lighthearted approach to such different people coming together is that neither set of parents has it all together. Like, each couple has its own set of issues. Um, and they're really relatable, believable issues as well. So there's definitely, this over the top nature of the movie, but it also has some like really heartfelt, legitimate emotional moments too. Um, and the performances from everybody are so solid. Like, they really sink into these characters. Um, as I mentioned before, you've got supporting performances from some big name actors that are also incredible, like Hank Azaria. But, really, the stars of the show at the end of the day are Robin Williams and Nathan Lane. The two of them have this rapid fire play with words. You can tell so much of this is improvised, but it flows so incredibly well. Like, it's just hilarious dialogue to begin with, but the way that they react, that reactionary time is just amazing. It's like an even more vibrant, ridiculous Abbott Costello act. I mean, it is it is on-screen magic for real to see the two of them together. And I just think this movie is so much fun and so ludicrous, and really, like, the way that it shows that sort of relationship between the fathers and the kids is so lovely, honestly. I mean, it really, really is. You definitely feel how much each character cares for their children, and at the end of the day, that's really the most important thing. And I think that this is sort of the perfect kind of movie to watch it for Father's Day weekend, just because it has so many different elements that speak to so many different people. It's funny, it's heartfelt, it's serious in places, it's slapsticky and ludicrous in others. It's just an excellent, excellent movie. So if you're looking for something fun and entertaining and enjoyable to watch this weekend, definitely put The Birdcage on your list. You will absolutely not regret it. My next recommendation is another funny one. This one definitely targeted towards um, fans of that sort of over the top comedy style. It's Daddy Daycare. Now, Eddie Murphy, I think, is one of those comic geniuses on screen. Like, he's so good at his particular brand of comedy that you already kind of know what you're going to get. This one is obviously not targeted hardcore at adults, but it works on a lot of levels. There's enough like kiddie humor to entertain younger people. This is a PG rated film. So you definitely can entertain your younger viewers, but there's a lot of humor that will also appeal to adults. It's a little bit juvenile in its comic style, but it's definitely not purely for children. Like, there are themes in here that will definitely resonate with a parent. So it's a fun one that you can watch with your kid and still entertain everybody who's viewing it. With this story, you're following two fathers who were just recently let go of their jobs. They are struggling to figure out what this new identity of theirs is going to be. And through certain circumstances, which are absolutely hilarious, Eddie Murphy decides that he is going to open up a daycare, because how hard could it be? I mean, you take care of one kid, you can take care of 10, right? That's actually kind of a concept within this movie. Obviously wrong, but that's part of the fun of seeing things. So, predictably, you get to watch Murphy's character really figure out just how challenging looking after a group of tiny humans is going to be. That's where you get a ton of slapsticky kind of humor that definitely goes over the top sometimes, but is part of the charm of the movie. Like, that's what you're looking for when you're looking for a film like this. And it's also not to say that there aren't some really sweet moments. There absolutely are, as he learns to bond with his own child, as he learns to bond with these other children. That's a really, really lovely recurring theme within the movie. So if you're looking for something slapsticky, ridiculous, pretty kid friendly with that sort of kid styled humor mixed in, but that also will have some adult themes that would not detract from the movie for kids. Check out Daddy Daycare. It's ludicrous, but in a really, really fabulously fun way. So check out Daddy Daycare if you're looking for a fun one this weekend. My next recommendation, also on Hoopla, is for a significantly less slapsticky film, and this is for Nebraska. Nebraska is one of those sort of sleeper hits that I don't think anybody expected to see get as lauded as it did in the end. I mean, it was nominated and won tons of major awards. Its cast won tons of major awards, everything from Golden Globes to Oscars to Indie Spirit Awards. I mean, this was one of those movies that was just quietly taking over the world. And I think it's because Bruce Dern and Will Forte have this sort of magical chemistry as father and son. And it's the kind of relationship that you see on film, you hope you don't actually have, really, but that you can still understand and relate. Bruce Dern plays this really cantankerous, sort of perpetually grumpy, curmudgeonly older man named Woody Grant. He definitely struggles from alcohol abuse. He's not always been the best father. He's certainly not been the best husband. And those are clearly elements that are apparent from the get-go of this film. You know, really from the first few scenes, that he has a history of not being the best at either of those things, pretty much from the get-go. And what is interesting about this movie is that Will Forte, his son, who's named David, definitely is frustrated, has this subtextual anger going on, but still clearly loves his father. It's his father. Anyway, Woody receives word that he's won this $1 million sweepstake and decides that he is going to trek all the way to Lincoln, Nebraska to pick it up. It's like Lincoln from where they are is probably around, hold on, I wrote it down, around 750 miles. He's going to go on his own and get this money, not realizing, or maybe purposefully being obtuse about the fact that this is definitely a scam. He did not win $1 million. I guess in a way it makes it this weird, grumpy old men styled Homer's Odyssey. I digress. It is definitely part of the important plot line, though, that he is going on this quest essentially to nowhere to receive nothing. David is desperate to try and make his father understand that this is not something necessary to do, but he has very little luck in his own quest to enlighten his father. People in the town start talking about how Woody has won this award, and it sort of snowballs into tons of other problems for the family. And at the end of the day, you just have these two personalities clashing against one another over and over and over again throughout the whole film. But at the same time, you have these little pockets, these little moments of clarity and understanding between them too. It's funny in a very dark kind of way, and that is sort of perfect with the tone of the film. So if you're looking for something that definitely has elements of drama with dark humor in it, that really focuses on a dysfunctional father-son relationship that still, at the end of the day, has a real heart to it. Check out Nebraska. It's funny, it's quirky, it's weird, and it's a little bit sad in some moments. But it is an excellent, excellent film with a crazy good storyline and really solid, solid performances all the way around. Again, that's Nebraska, available on Hoopla. Now, my final Hoopla recommendation is for a phenomenal, phenomenal action film that is perfect for anyone who has ever watched Liam Neeson's Taken and thought this could be more actiony, or this could be more bloody, or this could be more violent. Man from Nowhere is the perfect film if you have ever had any of those thoughts, or if you just liked the film Taken. It is the perfect sort of vengeance, father-daughter relationship style story, and you will be on the edge of your seat from the very first frames. Now, Man from Nowhere is a South Korean film, so it does have English subtitles. Please, please, please disregard the fact that it has subtitles. It is phenomenal. It has some of the absolute best fight sequences and choreography that I've seen in the past decade or so. It is crazy good. In Man from Nowhere, you have this pawn shop owner named Taeshik. He has this super mysterious past, but from the outside, he's just, this quiet sort of loner. A little girl in his building tries to strike up a friendship with him. She's always, you know, trying to pawn and trade things at his little shop because, one, she has very little to her name. Her mother, it's just the little girl and her mother on their own. Her mom is very much not present for the vast majority of her life. Her mom also has a lot of issues. So she's really on her own, and she's sort of desperate for any kind of connection. And he provides that for her sometimes. There are reasons, and it's very clear that there are reasons for him. We don't know what they are, that he wants to keep her at bay. He doesn't want to come to care for this kid. But that continues to sort of like play into the whole storyline of the film. Despite him trying not to care, he does grow to care for this girl until something happens and she ends up getting kidnapped. She disappears, and he has to figure out what's happened to her. Now, he has, like I said, this very mysterious past, and he has a certain subset of skills, much like Liam Neeson in Taken, that allow him to track down the people who have taken her. So you've got this pulse pounding mile-a-minute film going, because once she's gone, things just don't let up. He is constantly on the move, desperate to figure out where she is, what's going on, and it is so filled with action. I mean, there's violence galore. So if you are someone who has no interest in a film with a lot of violence, this is probably not going to be the movie for you. But if you like a film with a great fight sequence, there are tons of fight sequences in this, along with some seriously, seriously hardcore fight choreography. Whoever their stunt coordinator and fight choreographer was, just did an exceptional, exceptional job. You've got a really good score going on, solid, solid performances, in particular from the little girl that Taeshik is trying to track down. She has gone on to be a very, very big star in South Korea. She's constantly working. And the actor who plays Taeshik was already a huge name to begin with. And they both are incredible in this movie. I mean, I don't often get particularly teary during this kind of movie. Like, I never cried during any of the 10 billion Taken films. I haven't cried in any of the like subsequent Liam Neeson It's Just Like Taken but with a different title films either. This one I teared up a number of times. It is both like pulse pounding and thrilling, but also like emotionally evocative. I mean, there are a lot of like moments that are clearly intended to make you have the feels. And on me, it definitely worked. So if you were looking for a really fast paced action movie that has a really moving father daughter style relationship focused in it. If you're looking for something with crazy action sequences and choreography, definitely check out Man from Nowhere. It is a fantastic film. I mean, of this particular genre, because at this point, this is a genre. Um, Seriously, just type in Liam Neeson's name in IMDb and you will see how he's like in 90% of this genre of film. Anyway, again, please check out Man from Nowhere. It is a fantastic film and you will not regret it. Again, Man from Nowhere on Hoopla Digital. Check it out. Okay, I have two more recommendations for you this week, and these are, of course, on Canopy. And the first of those is for the movie Nobody's Fool. Now, Nobody's Fool is from the 90s, so not a new movie by any means, but it's one that I remember watching when it first came out, and I still remember a large part of the storyline, even though it's been decades at this point since I watched it. Um, the main character, Donald Sully Sullivan, is played by the unbelievably awesome Paul Newman. I mean, when is Paul Newman not phenomenal in a role that he plays? And he is this. I hesitate to use the word ne'er-do-well, but he's one of those guys who has avoided responsibilities his entire existence. He has never been a good husband. He hasn't been a good father. He's not the best friend. He's just not a great guy, especially when we meet him, which is at a point in his life where he goes from his house to the local bar to sort of these occasional freelance jobs. I mean, he just doesn't have a lot of meaning to his life. He doesn't have a lot of drive or ambition, clearly. But suddenly, as a 60-year-old man, he finds himself in a position where he has to be a better father than he's ever been. And even more so, he has to be somebody's grandfather. He has to learn how to parent, essentially. And it's being thrown into the deep end because it's him or nobody for a large swath of the film. Now, his son, it's clear his son is kind of following in his father's footsteps. He comes back to town with this tearful story about a failed marriage and relationship and how Paul Newman's character Sully needs to really help him out, and he just essentially leaves his own child with his sort of lacking in abilities father, and it's quite a shock to Sully's system to suddenly have this other human being actually dependent on him and him alone. And what is so charming about this is he doesn't do things perfectly ever at any point. And yet, despite all of his flaws, despite like the difficult start that he had, he really bonds with his grandson, and the grandson is just grateful to have someone there with him, to have someone who cares. And Sully really does end up caring for this grandchild, and it's beautiful. And this is not like one of those loud blockbuster films. It's super duper quiet, but it sticks with you. Like honestly, I haven't seen it since the 90s. I hadn't seen it since the 90s. And I still remember so many sequences. There are some serious laugh out loud moments. I was not expecting that. I know that that Newman has always been in films that definitely will make you laugh but will also make you cry, things like that. But there were serious laugh out loud moments, things that I did not think were in his wheelhouse. The little boy as well is so charming and so adorable, and he's so good in the role. Now, at the end of the day, the story, of course, is focused on how Sully grows as both a father and a grandfather and as a human being in general. And it does have a little bit of that sort of hokey vibe to it, but I don't think it ever gets saccharine. There's enough grit underneath, because while he definitely changes throughout the film, he is still himself. He will never be, he will never be your traditional father of the year. But I think that's kind of the beautiful thing about stories like this, is that, you know, love makes you grow. And that's what's really beautiful, and a really what makes this a really great father son, father grandson story. So please do check out Nobody's Fool. Great film with a really, really great script and a wonderful performance from Paul Newman. And my very last recommendation for the week is for a movie I'd not seen before I was putting these recs together, and that is called Leave No Trace. This movie is phenomenal. Like, seriously, seriously phenomenal. It stars Ben Foster, who is always amazing in anything he does, and a young girl named Thomasin McKenzie, who plays his daughter, Tom. Thomasin McKenzie, man, she was just exceptional in this. She's a teenager, but I still consider her like a child actor. And I think roles like this that really lean into the drama can get hokey and melodramatic so quickly, but it never does, because she does such a good job of keeping everything very real. Now, Foster and Mackenzie are a father and daughter who are living off the grid. Now, Foster's character is uh, a a war vet who is living with PTSD, and he has a lot of trouble with the regular world. And so he has a great deal of paranoia and a great deal of other issues that make living in traditional society incredibly challenging for him. And that's the only life that his daughter has known, this life with his challenges. So he does the best he can, and he makes this incredible world for her out in the middle of nowhere within these different forest parks. And he teaches her all of these survival skills. He homeschools her, and she still manages to be a really bright, well-rounded person despite being so isolated and going through so much. Because it is technically illegal to live in these national parks, the two of them are eventually found and brought to social services, where social services is shocked to discover just how sound her education is. She is way ahead skill level of where she should be. She has all of these other abilities. The one thing that really has, not been fleshed out for her is her relationships with other people, because of course she's always only with her father. She's always isolated. That's just the nature of the beast. These two are so close knit and connected to one another, and suddenly being ripped out of what they know, they are forced to try and find another home, and the circumstances they end up in are difficult at best. Like I mentioned, he has a real difficulty living in that regular world, and she comes to find out that she actually likes it. She likes the interaction with the other people, which is not surprising at all. So you have this pretty constant, friction between the two. As mentioned, they are super duper close. They love one another. They have no desire to hurt one another. But the theme throughout the film is, how can both their needs be met and their connection still be strong? It's one of those movies that really snuck up on me. I mean, for the next day afterward, I kept thinking about it and thinking about it and thinking about it. There are so many little scenes that are just so powerful. And by the end of the movie, I was just a wreck. It's just such a good, well acted film. I mean, if you're looking for something brilliantly acted with an excellent storyline, with really, really heartfelt messaging, something that will make you absolutely feel, because there's no way you can watch this and be like, oh, what's happening? I don't even understand. That's just not a reaction you can have with this movie. Um, Please do check it out. Leave No Trace is wonderful. Probably my favorite film from this set of movies. Um, even though it includes even though my rec list includes like funnier titles, this is the one that I think everybody should check out. Again, Leave No Trace on Canopy. It is exceptional. So Leave No Trace is my last rec for the week. As always, if you have recommendations for stories about fathers and their kids, please, please, please make a comment. Let us know what you're thinking. I love getting new recommendations, and I will almost always check them out. If you have recommendations for rec themes, please comment with those as well. I'm always looking for suggestions as far as those go. And with that, I am going to close out this week's episode. Thank you so, so much for joining me, and I will see you next time. Bye-bye.